Hello everyone and welcome to National Conveyancing Week and the Conveyancing Foundation Best Place to Work webinar. I'm joined today by three exceptional ladies from three exceptional firms. They have been nominated and shortlisted to win the Best Place to Work award at the National Conveyancing Awards this evening. So congratulations to you all. As I introduce you, I would ask that obviously you give us a little bit of a breakdown of who you are and the firm that you work for, most notably in relation to the size of the firm and obviously how you work and the hybrid sort of methodology that you use. And then we're going to run through what's made you the best place to work for. So just to start with, about myself, my name's Lloyd Davies. I'm the chairman of the Conveyancing Foundation. We've been established for the best part of 10 years, and our objective is to enhance the lives of those working in the conveyancing industry. So your input today, ladies, is going to be absolutely paramount to our work going forward. I would say that I'm also the managing director of Convey Law. We also applied for this award, but we didn't make it. So I'm really keen to hear from you as to what you're doing that we're not, because you're clearly, all of you with your firms, setting some real standards here. So we've got Jenny Bland from Ison Harrison Solicitors, Elan Rimmer from Oliver and Co Solicitors, and Sue Bence from Simply Conveyancing. So could I ask you, each of you in turn, then to just introduce yourselves, and then we'll get on with the questioning. Elan, would you like to go first?
Sure. So I'm a head of the conveyancing department in Oliver and Co. I'm a director and I'm also one of the trustees. We are an employee-owned trust, and we converted into a trust 2 years ago. We have about 78 people working for us. The conveyancing team consists of about 20 of us. I work a hybrid week, a couple of days at home, like most of the fee earners here.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Jenny?
So I am Jenny Bland. I head up the property teams at Ison Harrison. When I say property teams, we have sort of quite a separate new build team and a residential team as well. We are also employee owned, so we're not unique in being employee owned, but I think there are a select few of us, and more and more companies are sort of looking to go in this direction. In terms of size, we have approximately 270 employees at the moment. That's across the entire firm. In terms of conveyancing, about 100. That's new build and residential property. My working hours are a little bit weird and wonderful. Like we'll move on to shortly in terms of the split. But I take a Wednesday off and I work a Saturday. So I do a lot of new build work, and that fits in with their hours. And bizarrely, I quite like it. It works for me. I think it's a case of whatever works for the firm and for the individual people.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jenny. Sue?
Lovely to meet you all. I'm Sue. I'm the Chief Legal Officer at Simply Conveyancing. I've been with the business almost 18 months now. We are about the same size as your business, Jenny. So we have about 300 people, 286 people as of today, in fact. About 100 of those are property lawyers, and we have locations across Peterborough, Daventry, Cardiff, and a significant remote workforce. So hybrid colleagues, as well as wholly remote teams of practitioners as well. We are owned by Living Bridge. That's a private equity business that invested in Simply Conveyancing in 2019. Since then, we acquired another regulated legal business, formerly known as Pirrie Palman. So that business was integrated with Simply Conveyancing Property Lawyers in November. So we became one alternative business structure. That's our regulatory status. We're an ABS. I don't know what the position is with Elan and Jenny's business, but that's quite core to our operating model. And very pleased to be here today. So thank you for having me.
Well, thank you all for coming along. One of the first questions you were asked in your Best Place to Work application was, how do you achieve a balance between purpose and profit, aligned with a value system that is demonstrable firm-wide adoption and buy-in? So in what ways are employees involved in shaping and contributing to the firm's purpose and values? And I know that's very dear to you all, but particularly with Elan and Jenny, you're employee owned, and I mean, within our industry, that is obviously something it's not the norm, I don't think. Obviously, you usually have partners or directors and shareholders, don't you? So perhaps Jenny, you could sort of tell us how you came about that, and obviously what that's done for you as a firm.
Yeah, I think so. We've been employee owned for 2 years as well, so it's very similar in terms of you guys at Oliver and Co. The way it came about is that Ison Harrison was owned outright by 3 equity partners, and one of them was coming up to retirement. So the usual looking for succession planning, essentially. And obviously, sometimes a small firm sells to a medium firm, a medium to a large, and so on. Or sometimes there are other ways of proceeding. And our 3 equity partners put a lot of planning into it, and 2 of them stayed on as directors, so are still very much here and working and continuing in terms of the ethos of the place and keeping that continuity. And Richard retired, and at that point we became employee owned. Essentially, the company was sold to a trust to be run for the benefit of the staff. So we were very, very lucky even before we became employee owned, in that culturally we have a very low staff turnover. People have been with us for a very long time. But this was the icing on the cake, if you like, in that people all of a sudden were going to be financially rewarded for it. So, it's not just sort of paying lip service to employee ownership. We are 100% employee owned. And what that means in layman's terms is that the directors are tasked with running the business for the benefit of the employees. Of course, that means making money, because if you make money, you can utilise that money to, A, split in terms of profit share distributions, but B, invest in people and resources, and a lot of the things that we're going to talk about in terms of the other things that we can bring into play to help. There is a cost to them, so of course we need to do well as a business to be able to take care of that as well. We've distributed twice, so two full years. We run January to December. So first year profit distribution was in December 2022, and we distributed £3,600 each. That's the maximum tax-free government allowance, essentially, that you can distribute without tax coming into play. They do pay national insurance on that. The following year, so December just gone, 2023, we distributed £4,000 each. When we say each, we mean anybody who's been here at least 12 months, and everybody gets the same profit share split. And what we mean is whether you are a partner or a receptionist or an office junior, it's the same across the board. And that was a decision that the board made very early on, and I think has been absolutely key to this, because actually people can talk about how much they got, they can talk about what they did with it. It might be something glamorous. You might have booked a nice holiday with it. You might have been boring and paid off your credit card in the new year, or got new guttering. We did like a bit of a staff survey where people sort of said what they'd done with the cash, and all sorts of weird and wonderful answers. But the point is that if you're distributing the same to everybody, they can make those comparisons. Actually, if you make it proportionate to salary or to level, then actually you've got to be reasonably secretive about what people are getting. I got a new garage door, which is incredibly boring. I know, could have done better there. But actually, I think that also links in with other things. I think that pressures, we've got a cost of living crisis going on. People are struggling. Everything's gone up. And actually getting £4,000 the week before Christmas enables them to be able to straighten up the credit card bill or pay for Christmas, or just kind of ease those pressures and those worries. And it's not all about money, but it helps. It enables people to make choices that maybe they wouldn't previously have been able to make. It's not just about the money. There's other things that we have done to try and sort of ease burdens and, you know, make life easier, essentially. We've got a really good communications committee, but again, because we're employee owned, we've got teams who, you know, we've got an ideas hub. Some of the ideas are fab, some probably a no-go, but you know, they'll come to the board anyway. But actually, the fact that people are able to kind of put those things forward without too much judgment about it, and actually it might not be a yes now, but it might not be a no forever for one reason or another, but at least those lines of communication are kind of open for people to be able to put their hand up and say, have you thought about this? How about this? We're slightly different in terms of our business model in that we have a head office at Leeds, and then we've got another 18 branch offices, so think sort of local high streety type branches. Each of those branches generally deals with property, family, probate, roughly speaking. The head office at Leeds operates a kind of hub and spokes model, if you like. So you've got everything central at Leeds, so from your accounts teams, business support teams, IT teams, that kind of thing. And they act as a support system to make sure that everybody at the branches can do what they need to do. And I don't think that the branches would survive as well without the head office and vice versa. You generally have firms that have a big central operations unit or a branch network, and actually the fact that we've got both seems to bounce quite well off of each other, actually. We give bonuses, we have managers having discretion where they can give, you know, certain recognition to certain people. We have a system where employees can nominate each other for things, actually, if they've just gone above and beyond, and they can give an award to the next person. It operates weekly, where you've won it this week and you're the one nominated for next week, and that's actually inadvertently created a lot of engagement around our sort of intranet and teams, and getting people more engaged with that than they were previously, obviously looking to see who's been nominated, have you been nominated, have you won. So that's been a really good thing for us. We've got all sorts of working patterns. I'm reliably informed by HR that we've got 58 different working patterns. I don't know who counted that, but I'll take the word for it. Because it's not a one size fits all. People have got stuff going on. You know, they've got kids and home and aging parents and all sorts of stuff. And actually, the traditional Monday to Friday in the office, 9 until 5, it's just not really a thing anymore. And it's a case of adapting as and when, really. So yeah, I think we're very fortunate in that we regularly, you know, we might set a target at the beginning of the year for a fee earner, and actually for one reason or another things have changed, and we need to adjust. We need to change that, because that's not what we were looking at on the 1st of January when we set that target. And, you know, having directors who get it in terms of people's home life, and, you know, it's not all about work, is cool, actually. And we reallocate, and we have a little bit of a move around as and when, really.
Yeah, it's flexible then. I think, you know, I guess that's really important, isn't it? I think COVID perhaps has taught us that more than anything else, hasn't it? I think it's taught us trust and flexibility in terms of we've had to trust our employees, haven't we, to work away from an office, which was completely alien to us before 2020, or for most businesses, wasn't it? And then obviously people, you know, they are human beings, aren't they? They need to be treated as such, and everyone is different in terms of how they react, their emotional reactions and everything else. So it's trying to be as flexible as possible.
I don't think we had the technology previously. I think pre-COVID, we probably couldn't and wouldn't have been able to do it, because actually, I don't know about you guys, but we had a shortage of laptops and, you know, various stuff that actually we didn't need until we really needed it. And actually, what's come out of that is that kind of work-life balance. We also realised, sort of coming out of COVID, that there were lots of people who hadn't been furloughed, who hadn't had a break, frankly, because, you know, the market went crazy, as you will all remember. And we were trying to sort of force people to take some holidays because they hadn't had a break for so long. Yeah. we introduced a floating fee earner, if you like, somebody who doesn't have a caseload or targets or anything like that, but she basically just goes around and covers. And it was meant to be a COVID or a sort of post-COVID thing. And actually, we just she just stayed. It just became a thing that actually you've got a week's holiday coming up in July, then your book's on you for a week. She turns up at your desk, she is you, and you have a proper battery recharge. Come back in and somebody's dealt with your emails and your phone calls and all of that. And actually, again, you can go away and have a proper rest and go again when you come back, rather than worrying about the holiday aftermath, as we used to call it. It's a thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Jenny. I'm going to move on to Ellen, because Ellen obviously is in a similar situation in terms of the employee ownership side of things, and I really want to try and explore that. But Ellen, if you could just give us an overview.
Our journey's very similar, really, to the Ison Harrison model, in that the company owned by two directors, and they didn't want to sell out to another company. So this whole employee ownership, a very new concept, not many law firms. So it was a bold decision. And it's been fantastic for our employee engagement. We all have the same share, like Ison Harrison, in the distribution of the profit. We've sort of made one towards Christmas and then another one towards the end of our financial year in March, which the one before Christmas is just so welcome, because it's been hard, hasn't it, for people, and we call it the EOT effect here, because everyone's bought into this. People become eligible for that share of profit after they've been here 6 months. We have employee reps that are voted on to come, and they have meetings. They come and discuss the list of requirements or changes or improvements with the trustees. So we've implemented a lot of the ideas that have come through the whole employee engagement process, and that's you can feel it. Everyone's sort of bought into it, to the point where it's like, don't leave the lights on, if you don't need to, things like that. And the color copying and the postage, suddenly everyone's looking at the accounts. We've been given accounts training by our accountant. Everyone's had that, looking at the balance sheets, the profits, the costs. It's not easy to understand. We've all benefited from it. We've all had training. Every month we have departmental meetings where we go through the figures, and it just makes everyone feel, that they are part of it, and decisions can be made by us all and implemented, for the good of the company. So we've really moved things on. It's a completely different sort of ethos, the whole EOT effect. And when you speak to people who come from traditional firms, it's a difficult concept for them to grasp, but when you're here, it's a really big thing for us. And the staff turnover is low. We've really changed the whole way that we are operating.
That sounds fantastic. I mean, it's incredibly transparent. So you're given full information, financial information monthly. You're both nodding your heads there. So I mean, but it is, that is something that is obviously quite alien, really, because obviously you've got a different ownership set, haven't you?
Yeah.
And as a result of that, then everyone buys into it, I guess. And that's what you're both saying. In terms of shares and ownership, is it actually then a share in the business? So is it transferable? Is it sellable? Or is it just more a financial bonus as opposed to ownership?
Yeah, so for us, the actual ownership is sat with a trust. So there are no individual shares issued. And for us, I think you're 6 months, where 12 months you have to have been in employment. So for us, from the 1st of January each year to get the December distribution. But it's not something that's transferable, and there's no buy-in, so it's not something that costs to buy in as such. It's an automatic qualify-in at the 12 months employment point. So yeah, it's not something that you can sell as such. But what we find is that obviously, in really simplistic terms, the more money that goes into that pot, the more there is to split. The harder people work, the more trust there is, the more teamwork there is. You know, somebody's over trading, somebody's struggling, people wade in, help out, because it's not just about you and what's directly in front of you. It's about a much bigger picture. Obviously, as a result, we are very transparent about all the income, expenditure, and all of that. We were quite good at that anyway, I would like to think, but all the more so now, full disclosure of everything on a monthly basis.
I guess it has a whole sort of galvanizing effect, doesn't it? So that, like you say, people will turn the lights off, but also perhaps if there was a weak employee, they'd be thinking, well, actually someone isn't pulling their weight here.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I mean, also, I think, you know, when you look at that whole model, it's quite interesting because we've always rewarded conveyancers. They're the superstars, if you like, aren't they? But, you know, the background teams that we've got working behind the scenes, we've always found it very difficult to financially reward them with bonus payments.
Yeah.
And so actually, if you've got a pot that says, you know, look, this is it, this is the trust fund, this is what's going in there, then, you know, it actually seems really very equitable, doesn't it? And it allows for that buy-in, which is quite fantastic, really. And you guys are saying, well, it works. So
yeah, what we do find as well is that recruitment-wise, obviously recruitment has become a little easy, as you can imagine, especially at sort of admin type levels. You know, if we can say we distributed 3,600, then 4,000, but we're growing as a firm. So, you know, what will it be next year, the year after that? Yeah. Then obviously the retention obviously goes without saying, but actually the recruitment is becoming a lot easier because word is out there. We still pay market rate in terms of salaries. There are still annual salary reviews, but ultimately there's a potentially quite chunky bonus once you've, you know, done your time and been here on the 1st of January for that particular year. And people say, well, you know, what's the catch? There must be a catch. And I say, well, you know, it's still conveyancing. It's still, you know, you're still going to be busy, spinning many plates. You know, your clients are stressed. You've still got to manage your caseloads and make sure that you're okay. You know, we don't just want to push just for profit, because that's a very short-term game. We're looking many years in advance. But you know, the catch is that it's hard work. It's still hard work, but you get a fair share of it, I guess.
Yeah, I guess you have to be, you know, holistic about how you run the business, but also then it sharpens everyone up in terms of looking at profitability, doesn't it? I mean, you know, I am quite astounded that that Ellen, you know, you've given everyone, you know, financial training in terms of how to read your spreadsheets, you know, and etc., which is great, isn't it? I mean, that level of transparency is wonderful.
And we get the accountant, he comes in to give us talks on the accounts. We get a performance report. So yes, it's all very, very transparent. We also do, like Ison Harrison, we do have an exceptional performance pot as well that people can be nominated for. So there's still the traditional bonus type things as well, but this is a plus for everyone.
Brilliant. So Sue, we haven't heard anything from you yet. Now, obviously, you're from a different business model, very much, you know, sort of, I mean, quite diverse as well, like Jenny, you know, around the country. So, you know, how do you reward staff? How do you get the buy-in? What's the USP?
Sure. No, I mean, just perhaps to contextualize some of what I have to say is I've worked in my career through large numbers of different businesses. So I'm not a conveyancer by trade, as it were. I'm a solicitor, and I have 30 plus years of working in all different types of legal practices, larger, very large, and medium, in traditional models, so traditional partnerships. I also worked at Slater & Gordon, which was the world's first listed law firm. And what I absolutely love about Simply and our ownership by Living Bridge is where I see it fits very well between those quite two extremes. So our owners, Living Bridge, are here to build a sustainable market-leading business, and so that means that they will invest in whatever is necessary to ensure that we have the right systems and processes, but most crucially, the right people and the support for the people who are key to advancing this business. So some of the areas of support that we've been so fortunate to have, particularly during the recent downturn, is sort of maintaining our entire very significant property lawyer base at a point when utilisation was, incredibly low. So we've had a lot of support around ensuring that we could take care of our people at particularly challenging times. But in terms of reward, we have a employee value proposition which we feel is very much at the top of the market. So we pay in the upper quartile, but we also have a really substantial sort of business and bonus arrangements for our staff, and also a very comprehensive benefits package. So I know we're going to come on to talk about it a little bit later, but a huge amount of opportunity and support and benefits for our people that we encompass under what's called Simply Rewards. So a lot there in terms of mental health and other support, benefits, vouchers, all of those sorts of things to try and support people in their day-to-day life as well as with their work-life balance. But I'll perhaps leave sort of more of the detail of that until we get to that point. But I think that what's most important and how we seek to reward people is to ensure that everything that we're doing and everything that we expect of people is aligned to the values of the business, because it's in ensuring that those values are enabled through the business that we see the best opportunity for supporting people and moving the business performance forwards.
Yeah, thank you. I looking forward to hearing about Simply Reward. That sounds fabulous, and I think you've all got similar schemes in place to sort of manage that process. But I guess it's not only about finances, is it? I think that's the thing, and I think you picked up on that, Jenny. In terms of how you recognise individuals within your business. We've had an Employee of the Month and Team of the Month award that's been ongoing, I think, for about 15 years. And again, I'd be interested to find out how you reward people in that type of capacity. You touched on it earlier, Jenny. I don't know whether you want to elaborate.
Yeah, it's very much. I mean, we have things where managers can give things. That might be vouchers, it might be here's a couple of cinema tickets, it might be here's a voucher for a local restaurant, or just as a you've gone above and beyond that. You haven't just done your job, you've done something else. So we have that kind of structure. But the values award is something that is passed to employee to employee, which is really important. Yeah. So it's not necessarily manager to an employee, it's very much to your peers, to your colleagues. Do you know what? You really looked after me helping out with so-and-so. Thanks for that. I haven't forgot. It's bizarrely your little day-to-day things that probably go unnoticed. We've all got somebody in the office who is, the go-to, the oracle of everything that, people, if in doubt, you ask that particular person. And actually, it's just quite nice for their colleagues to give them a nod. They get a really good shout out on like our social media and our teams and everything. Everybody around the office is giving them a pat on the back, and we've got other more structured rewards things in place that everybody gets after being here for a certain period of time. Obviously, the ELB bonus. We've recently brought in private health insurance for all. So up until this January, it was for partners only. It was private health insurance, and now it's completely across the board. And we increased pension contributions. Previously, we were just at 3% pension contributions, which is sort of the bare minimum, really. But once we've had a couple of years at this employee ownership thing and made sure it's sustainable, and we're doing quite well, and we've got money to spend wisely and to spend for the benefit of the employees. So we've increased pension contributions from 3% to 5% as well, which, some people obviously won't be thinking about pensions at this point in their life and all of that, but actually, if your employer is willing to pay it, take it. I
guess it's the whole package, isn't it? But I mean, making someone's day is actually quite important, isn't it? And it doesn't cost anything other than a bit of time and actually an element of thoughtfulness. Yeah. How do you manage that? I mean, we've got an intranet facility that we encourage people to use. Sue, I can see you're leaning forward.
I just love this topic. I mean, what Jenny was saying, I just think is so incredibly important, that the point about recognising your colleagues, so I mean, so we have a value set that was created by our people. So we've just been through a process just recently to define our mission and our vision and our values, and all of that work was 100% created by our people. So I mean, I'm sure we've all been in businesses where we've walked in and the values are on the wall, someone stuck it up there and now we've all got to go and do that. That's not what we did. We held workshops right across the country. We had all of our remote people come in and talk to us about the business that they wanted simply to be, and the values that they believed were key to delivering that vision. So just as Jenny was highlighting, you know, we have what's called we have Raise the Roof. It's a program. It's all focused and centered around our values, and we do exactly as Jenny was talking about, which is that we have a whole range of awards and initiatives that our colleagues can nominate others for. And I think it's so utterly key to bringing the values to life, and making sure that, you know, that we're actually all as one, that we're all looking around the place and saying, are we actually, you know, raising the bar together? And it's those little things that people do that often don't get recognised, that when you can recognise them in the context of that value set, I think are just so incredibly important. So yeah, sorry, I was jumping up and down, but I was listening to Jenny, just thinking, yes,
really
that's exactly.
About it, aren't you? I get
I do because I think it's
just wonderful. We did something similar. We did a why sort of Simon Sinek. I don't know whether you will have come across him, but you know, why are we here? What is our USP? Why do we come to work other than obviously to make money and do, you know, and improve ourselves? It's all about that, and it's trying to get the values, isn't it, aligned. I guess, you know, it's difficult because when you're trying to do that from top to bottom, you know, you have to have full engagement, don't you? And clearly you've gone on and done that.
We went the other way. I mean, so we went absolutely, yes. So I would say all of us together, but we felt that as a you know, from a leadership team perspective, we felt that it was for our people to determine, you know, this is their business. And they walk the walk every day. So what we've created is from their voice and at their direction.
When you so typically, how do you recognise people? Perhaps this is one for you, Ellen. You know, so they've done a good job. How do you say well done? Is that an email to all staff? Is that, you know, how is that?
We have these things called gratitude cards. They're little postcards printed with "well done," "thanks very much," "you're a star." So anyone can pick any of those up and give to any member of staff who they feel has done a good job. So that can be, you know, from someone in reception to one of the directors. You know, it's a lovely thing, and everyone pins them up around the place. And then every Friday we have an email that goes around the firm which says who's done what, the amazing things someone's done. It might be something they've done for charity. It's not just all about the work, and it's a bit of a newsletter saying, you know, if someone's had a baby or got married. So no, and we do that every Friday that comes around, so it sort of pulls us all together. So it makes us feel united as a firm.
That's interesting. So you collate that. So as opposed to sending it out as it happens, you collate it.
We do.
And it's sent out as a nice message that everyone reads, hoping they're in it.
Yeah,
every Friday.
That's right. We all wait with great anticipation to see if we've had a mention.
Yeah, that's clever. That's very good. I mean, we do something similar. We tend to do it more sporadically so that it comes out as it happens, but it becomes difficult, doesn't it? Because there's so much communication then to sort of streamline. Are you all using an intranet type facility? Is that something that you've all got? Because obviously you've got hybrid working environments. So tell us about yours, Ellen.
We have a hub where we have a section for mental health, well-being. The company news goes on it, but to be honest, that tends to be more in that email that I was talking about. So it's more of a resource centre, the hubs type thing that we have here.
Yeah, because I'm interested with the remote workers. We've found it's worked really well for our business, because we've been able to obviously recruit from around the country. I'm sure you're the same. But trying to get that emotional tie-in is quite difficult when everyone is remote, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so, we've sort of started having happy days where the people that are within a commutable distance and less than an hour away are coming in perhaps once or twice a week, so that we're just pulling all of that camaraderie together, and then we tend to have sort of training sessions and bits and pieces. But it is difficult, I think, isn't it, when you've got hybrid workers, to keep them engaged.
Yeah.
And so I'd be interested.
We just updated our hybrid working policy, so we do really want people to be in the office for 2 days a week, or pro rata, depending on their sort of hours. But we're sort of localized. We don't have anyone completely working from home. We do have departmental meetings, so everyone, either if they're home or in the office. So we do try and keep everyone engaged in that sense as well, because it can be, disjointed if you're at home all the time, can't it? You want people to feel part of it still.
I forget about them even when we're doing training sessions, and they're on the end of a video. If they're not in the room, it's difficult, isn't it?
Yeah.
How have you managed this, Sue? Because obviously, Simply have been, remote for a long time, and you've got a lot of offices around the country.
We do. So I think we do a lot, I would say, very purposely and mindful of the large numbers of people that are wholly remote or hybrid workers. So whether it's something as simple as, a Teams group for teams. So, to give you an example, we recently integrated our Peterborough colleagues, that's where I'm here today, onto a variant of our case management system that we had at Simply Conveyancing. And it sounds really silly, but just setting up a site Teams chat group with our colleagues in Daventry and in some other places has been amazing, because they're joking, they're chatting, sometimes they have a video, all get together, something as simple as that. But obviously we do that by team, we do that by groups. So something as simple as Microsoft Teams for us has been fantastic. Our teams have, very regular meetings. So, at least a couple of times a week if they're remote or hybrid. But again, it's really important. Not everybody's going to be in the office on the day necessarily the team meeting's going to be. They may be at home, so on a hybrid basis. So just being really mindful of what that environment is and making sure that the meeting is structured for all. We when we did the values work, we did everything in person. So everybody came in because we wanted, to your point, Alan, we wanted to make sure that everybody was physically together, because there is a difference from in the read that you get of somebody in the room and on Teams. That opportunity, you were saying before that I was it's that kind of, when can I speak, because I've got something I want to say, is it the right time? So actually having people in the room just makes it a little bit easier.
I can tell when you want to speak, Sue.
Sorry. So that was really important for us. We have but things like our connect calls. So we have very regular calls with the business where we're sharing financial performance, we're sharing what's happening with new business, or indeed if business is struggling. We've all, I'm sure, been through a period just recently where that was really challenging, and we were very transparent with the business about what we were doing, both in terms of making sure that we were, focused on new business, but also just reassuring people in terms of what was happening as a result. And we've chosen to do those actually very carefully remotely, because we're mindful of the people at home. But we've also got other initiatives like Coffee Roulette, which was something that I started when I moved here from my last business, which is just where we have a slot on a weekly or a monthly basis, and people will connect over a cup of coffee for 15 minutes, not to do with work. And it just means that they get to meet other people around the business, whether they are remote or hybrid or office based or not. But the point is trying to make sure that they're connecting with somebody that they don't
have
normally.
Those coffee meetings then.
Do we make we ask people, would they please love to come to Coffee Roulette, and lots of people do. I've spent great time with people in those 15 minutes that honestly I genuinely probably wouldn't have always got to during the course of the day, and it's been invaluable just to have, you know, that opportunity to just have a one-on-one or a small group conversation just to connect more widely. We also do things that we think are very important. Like, for example, last year we had a summer get-together where we encouraged everybody to come on the weekend with their families, really importantly. So it was something that we designed around families. I'm a single mum of one, so if I'm going to come something on the weekend, it better be good for a 12-year-old or I'm not coming. So, you know, there's you know, we really try to make sure that what we're doing is going to encompass our people, but really importantly, their families as well.
That's really interesting, isn't it? I mean, I think sometimes as well, I think you can become a bit paranoid with remote workers that they have to engage. And actually, you know, if you go pre-COVID, we had lots of people that didn't engage at all, but were very good at doing their job. But, you know, they wouldn't come to the party. They wouldn't do, you know, those sort of things. So it is about trying to find that balance, isn't it? But actually allowing, you know, for an opportunity for engagement, if that's what the staff want, perhaps.
Ellen mentioned something which I think is really lovely, and we do something similar, although we do it digitally. So we have digital cards. So we've got a massive library, and you go onto Simply Rewards, and it's one of those things that you can do, and you can just send a card to anyone. You can choose to share it if you want to put it on the wall of recognition, or you can share it privately. So often I send cards, but I send them privately for good reason, because there might be something that, you know, just something that I saw, but sometimes I would share it. So, and again, that's we've done that purposely digitally, because it's easy then for everybody to have something.
It allows you to do that, doesn't it? Okay, so talk to me a little bit about your reward sort of side of things. So I know you're really keen to tell us about Simply Rewards. So, you know, I know I've from your applications, I know that you're engaged in, you know, systems that allow the staff to have discounts, perhaps have counselling access and access to GPs, that sort of thing. So over to you, Sue.
No, great. I mean, I think sort of Jenny was talking about this area as well just earlier, you know, and why it's so important. We've chosen to do it again through a focus on a particular sort of platform and digitally enabled because of the way in which our people work. And really the support is structured around 4 pillars. So it's money, munch, actually, mind and move. So, you know, everything, whether it is employee assistance, so that's free counselling, the helplines that we have, everybody has access to BUPA, whether it's the vouchers that are for all different types of personal services, be it, you know, coffee or Tesco or whatever it might be, or exercise and classes. We've got videos and live streams on there as well through the support that we have. The mental health hub, I know that we're all of us are so focused on that. We have a significant mental health hub where obviously all the information around our own internal mental health first aiders are there. But again, back to that employee assistance piece, ensuring that people have really clear visibility around access to that counselling service. So we want people to be able to reach out. And so, you know, ensuring that that's really clear as part of our wellbeing centre is important. So we talk about it a lot, as in to, you know, to continuously raise the awareness, and we feature it a lot. And I have to say, you know, even as an employee here, there is a lot to it that I have still not explored. And I got my birthday voucher via Simply Rewards last week, which was very nice. And I thought, oh my goodness, I didn't realise I had 15% discount at, I think it was Mountain Warehouse, and God knows where else. I must go and spend my money there. But just there's a lot there. Every little bit helps. Every little bit helps. So we, you know, that those sorts of discounts are actually really important. They make a big difference to people, as does ensuring that they can access support when they need it. You know, we have, for example, you know, free personal days. So, you know, that there is that day there that people can take if they just need it. You know, it's not a questions asked situation. There is that sort of benefit there because, you know, we all reach a point sometimes where we just need to just take a break. So I think probably of all of the areas of foundation in our business, it's something that we're so passionately committed to, because we can see the impact and the benefits that it has.
Wonderful. Jenny, you've got something similar in place, I believe.
Yeah, I think it's a case of sort of looking at it from both angles, really. So, you know, if people are struggling, then that could be something home related, it could be something work related, it might be a little bit of both, to be honest. It might be that people have got home things going on, and whilst it's not a work thing at the moment, do you want me to just reallocate some stuff? Do you want to pick 10 files out of your caseload that are really causing you some problems? And actually, I can just water them down a bit and spread them between a few different people, and all of a sudden you can breathe a little bit. You know, that's not a formal benefit as such, that's a management structure whereby, you know, and an ethos really, where people can put their hands up and say, do you know what, I'm just struggling, I've got this going on at home, I'm just really distracted, is there any chance of some help? Yeah, of course, tell me what you need, let's talk. We've got more formal things. We've got Vitality Health cover, quite new to us, pretty cool. It's got all sorts of, you know, if you walk so many miles a day, you get a free coffee and an Apple iWatch and all sorts of stuff where you can kind of, you know, the more you move, the more you do, the more health benefits you gain, and the more freebies you get, frankly. And everybody likes a freebie, if we're honest. The access to counselling is really good, because obviously NHS at the moment really struggling with mental health services. We've got a system whereby people can access 10 free counselling sessions, and it actually extends to extended family as well. So actually, if the mental health stuff is not necessarily you yourself, it's your mum, dad, brother, sister, son, daughter, whatever, actually having that sort of quite immediate access to such services can really ease the burden on the employee. We have had to invest in the last couple of years in our HR team, because as much as you've got all these great ideas about all these things that you want to distribute, actually you have to have the personnel to be able to manage these things and make sure that people are signposted actually to the resources that are there, that are available, that if people don't know that they're there, to be accessed. You know, we say not everything costs money, but actually sometimes behind the scenes there is a certain investment that needs to be made to have the personnel to be able to have those options. In the same way as redistributing caseload, you need to have the other staff available to be able to take them, to be able to ease that burden. I think, you know, I keep going back to it, but the EO bonus, getting £4,000 can really ease your stresses and mental health worries, and just, you know, you're not worried about the next gas and electricity bill that lands. That in itself is something that I do think taps into mental health, actually, and just easing day-to-day worries. We've got some discounts going on with, you know, various retailers, but I think the important thing is the signposting. There's sort of being aware of the services that are there and making sure that we've got the HR team there to get them to the right place. We've got 10 mental health first aiders around the place as well. They're all sort of combination of HR and staff, general staff who have done the formal training. But if somebody's having sort of a real crisis moment and needs somebody to talk to, frankly, and probably don't want it to be a manager in the nicest possible way. They probably want to speak to either HR or just somebody from another team altogether who you don't really know very well, and that's a great benefit, actually, that they're some distance removed. We've now got the ability to be able to put people in touch to talk about it, really, and if we as a firm do anything about it, of course we will.
Everyone's an individual, aren't they? And I think that's, you know, that's the bottom line here. They've got their own set of problems, their own, strengths and weaknesses, and it's trying to manage those, isn't it? And the HR department does that, but also, with an eye on what is good for the business as well as the individual. So it's trying to find that balance, I guess, isn't it? I think we're moving on to mental health. So when you mentioned, Sue, that obviously you just have these personal days, are they paid personal days? Are they, so you just, I'm not doing too good?
It's a paid personal day. So obviously, in addition to the holiday entitlement, there is that additional benefit as well. But I think the the most important thing, which you've just referenced, is the issue of signposting. I think that constantly ensuring that people are aware of the signpost to get help, because I mean, you're absolutely right. I think that, you know, people don't necessarily want to discuss things with their manager. They don't necessarily want to discuss something with HR. And so that's why having the employee assistance scheme for us is so key, because it means then that, you know, we can signpost people overtly and subtly and in other ways to the suite of support services that they've got. But there is a place that people can go, at least to talk privately, where there's no knowledge on the part of the business, unless and until you know, they deem that it would be appropriate or it becomes necessary. So I do think that's something that is highly valued.
Yeah, counselling, I think, you know, and being able to access that facility. I think certainly in the last sort of 3 years or so post-COVID, we've certainly understood, haven't we? I think that, you know, that it's really, really important. We've had an in-house counsellor here now for the best part of 5 years who comes every Thursday. But again, I think, you know, having a system where people can access a counsellor, because everything's online, and I think people are far more comfortable nowadays, aren't they, in having those meetings, you know. And I know, so you've all got that package, and you've all got mental health first aiders as well within your businesses, which I think is quite critical, really. The Conveyancing Foundation has grants available for people who want to train mental health first aiders, and it actually isn't that expensive, is it?
No, it's not. It's not.
We trained, I think it was 12, I think, here for, I think it was £2,000, I think, you know, and, you know, so it's not but it is critical, isn't it? What are your thoughts on that?
I think so.
We have 7 mental health first aiders here. They wear sort of different coloured lanyards, so everyone's aware of who they are. And you may not see, you know, what they're doing from day to day, but we know in the background that people are using them. We also have something similar to Jenny's Vitality. We've got Medicash, which is you can access counselling through that, and that, you know, it's a sort of thing where you can get dental treatment and eye tests and things like that, but it does also give you access to the counselling. We've had counsellors come in and do sessions with us. We've had lunchtime sessions where employees have talked about their own mental health. So it is something that's, you know, day to day being dealt with.
I guess it has to be led from the top as well, and I think that's important, isn't it? Because you've clearly all got cultures where, you know, it's totally acceptable to, you know, to have counselling, because it is a taboo, I think, in, you know, for certain generations, perhaps, you know, because it is alien, I think, to a lot of people. We're not brought up with it in this country, like perhaps, you know, you are in America. You know, it's something that, you know, everyone has to buy into, you know, from top to bottom. So, you know, well done to you all. I mean, one thing you did touch on as well, Jenny, was obviously that sort of, you know, stress management and capacity management. The last wellbeing survey the foundation did, 50%, 72% actually of conveyancers said that their job was stressful. Most of the time, I think 22% of those said it's stressful, you know, nearly all of the time. So it is obviously a very, very intense process, isn't it? Conveyancing for the conveyancer. You're juggling, you know, a lot of balls, and all the stars have to align, and you've got a lot of emotion coming at you. So it is difficult, isn't it? So how do you manage that? I mean, you must all have very good processes in place to look at how many cases people have got and how they manage that process. Who wants to go with that one?
I think for us, we're not actually brilliant at knowing the numbers, if that makes sense. So I quite like that in terms of, I don't want it to be a case of once you have X amount of files, then that's a problem, because that's not necessarily the case. It depends on the fee earner, it depends on their assistance, it depends on whether they've got annual leave coming up or stuff that they've got going on at home, and you know, I could go on forever in terms of all the different things that could potentially come into play. But ultimately, it's a case of, I call it the Goldilocks effect. So it's too hot, too cold. You know, you've taken quite a lot of files last month. Are you all right? I'm constantly talking to the teams in question, and it might be, I'm all right for now, but can we keep an eye on it? Absolutely, let's keep an eye on it. Or do you want to pick me 10 files to water down, to send elsewhere, just so that you can reset a little bit? It might be that on paper, somebody's numbers are absolutely fine, no problem there at all, but struggling. They're not returning calls quickly enough. I've always said, as a conveyancer, if you just absorb 1% of every single client's stress, then you're going to be very stressed indeed. I think there has to be a little bit of perspective in a lot of ways, in that we are dealing with bricks and mortar here. It's not life and death that we're dealing with, and the support that they need to get from us as managers is put your hand up. Don't wait until your head goes underwater. Put your hand up to say, I'm just starting to feel the pinch a little bit, and we can have
it's struggling, I guess, isn't it? It's having that communication and that confidence to be able to say, look, things aren't quite right here. What about you, Sue? I mean, obviously you're doing quite volume in terms of residential conveyancing. You obviously have a matrix in place, or you have, some, IT that helps you measure what is going on.
Yeah, and I think what's crucial is to marry that qualitative known approach of your people, just as Jenny was describing, with the data. So we are forensic, I would say, about it in a way that the business hasn't always been in the past. So certainly, just as I was arriving, and certainly prior to, I think there were certainly stretches around capacity and utilisation. So we have a framework that identifies the individual's assessed level of capability in terms of the nature and the scale of the work that they could undertake. So when I say that, what I mean is how many freehold purchase or leasehold purchase or leasehold sale. But then what we're looking at is on a matter by matter basis and an individual by individual basis, what their conversion has been in the month of their opening active pipeline, what the time to exchange has been by the nature of the matter, so that you can really, and also really crucially for us, what the feedback has been across the multiple touch points that we take it in the process. And the reason that we do that with our clients is because that's where you can see it's the best sense for us when we combine it with all of those other data points to really understand how somebody is managing. So if their conversion is down, their time to exchange is down on a particular portfolio, perhaps it was leasehold BSA London and poor satisfaction, but they might be underutilized. Well, there's something wrong then, regardless of what they might be saying. So it's all of those different touch points that we use, along with very careful work, obviously, with the legal directors and legal managers. Our structure is that we have a legal director who is responsible then for a team of legal managers, and then in turn those legal managers are responsible for their property lawyers. So they are looking at detailed statistics that are issued every week that they use as a base for those most important conversations with their people. So I think what's very helpful when standing back from it is to be able to see on the data where the hotspots are in terms of utilisation or allocation. It is constantly a objective and challenge for us to make sure allocation is right. Where is it not smooth? Who has got two over? They shouldn't have. How can we move that around? But then, as I say, I think the feedback from the clients is so important, because we can see it in there very early on if somebody is beginning to struggle, even if they've not articulated that. But again, as both Jenny and Elan, I think, have alluded to, ensuring that there is that open door environment so that people can put their hand up and say, I'm not coping. This isn't, all right, I need to move these matters, or this is the most important thing. Those other data points are there to help see a picture perhaps that hasn't been yet articulated by the individual.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because I think, sometimes as well, I think, individuals can struggle because they've got problems in terms of processing their work, or they have anxieties, they suffer from, stress. And actually, without having that whole holistic sort of well-being sort of culture, you may miss things. And we certainly found that having an in-house counsellor helped us to identify certain personality traits that we were trying to fix by, giving them simpler work to do, which was never going to make any difference because we still had the levels of anxiety. They were caused by something that was complete, that was something that came out of their childhood, not anything that was, to do with what we were doing, So, and sometimes I think, you need to have that overall structure in place, don't you, to run a business and to allow everyone then to try and hopefully be able to breathe a bit, enjoy their work, which would be nice, wouldn't it, for us all? And then, have a wonderful sort of workplace balance. We're running out of time, ladies, and I just wanted to touch on a little bit about charity, because you all in your in your applications for Best Place to Work mentioned about charity and how that impacts where you're at, and I'm just interested to know what sort of effect that has on the culture of your working environment. Ellen, we haven't heard from you for a bit, so.
Well, we have a charity of the year. We're just about to vote on our new charity. So employees can put forward a charity they would want to nominate. This year we've had the food bank as our charity, and it's been so successful. It really has. And by forging the links with our local food bank, we've been able to, they've been coming into the office, they've given us talks, we've been able to see how they operate, and it's been a really worthwhile. We've got a lot out of it as well as putting a lot in. Yeah. We also do British Heart Foundation collections in the office. We've done sponsored runs for cancer charities, and it's a very personal thing to us now. And as I say, we do get a lot back out of it as well.
It's good for the soul.
It is.
It really is. I mean, we're obviously quite big on it here at Convey Law, and through the Conveyancing Foundation, we established the charity lotto. It was about 12 years ago, I think, and it's raised over £1 million. But it is something that you guys, it's there for any legal practice to use. Very, very simple concept. Your clients pay £10 towards the charity that you nominate. £9 goes towards the charity, collects gift aid, becomes £11.25. £1 goes towards the lotto. It's a monthly prize draw, so they get a couple of chances of winning £500, and you choose the charity, and it's raised hundreds of thousands of pounds. So have a look at it. It's on the Conveyancing Foundation website. But more than that, I think, as Ellen, as you said, and you've all said in your applications, I think it engenders that togetherness, doesn't it? I think, that there's an event, there's something happening, there's a charity that's dear to someone's heart, that it's really, whether it's a cake sale or whether or not you're running the London Marathon, it's quite fantastic, isn't it? And we are running out of time. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give you the opportunity to sort of sum up with anything that you think that we haven't covered, that you think is perhaps a USP for with your business, and why obviously you're the best place to work in the UK. So Sue, would you like to go first?
Very happy to go first. As I mentioned before, we've just been through a process with everybody in our business of crafting the mission and the vision for Simply Conveyancing and the values. What I am most excited by is the opportunity to bring all of that to life, because I think that a business that, exactly to your point in terms of making a difference, which is one of our values, actually making a difference, you have to be able to live these values day in, day out with your customer, with your people, to truly succeed. So I think that for me, and for our people at Simply Conveyancing, it's about being in an organisation that truly does exist to deliver on its vision. For us, it is to be the first choice of quality conveyancing services, but through those really deeply held values, one of which, as I say, is making a difference and truly doing what we say we will do at every aspect, whether it's internal or external.
Wonderful. Jenny?
I think we genuinely, our motives are good. We genuinely try to let people have work-life balance. People have got stuff going on. It's not all about work. Ultimately, to be able to reward people financially, to be able to give private health cover and all the other stuff that goes with being employee-owned, giving out £4,000 bonuses just before Christmas, we have to make money. We do. But there is a way in which you can do that where actually you still look after people, you look after your clients, you look after your staff, and actually you're playing a really long game. It's not about this year's figures, it's not about next year's figures, it's about 5 years, 10 years, 15 years time actually, and building that sustainability. And you don't have to sell your soul to be able to make money as a business. Actually, you can have a real balance whereby people are engaged. They're grafting, they're working hard, but ultimately they're not working hard to line the pockets of a big CEO. They are lining their own pockets. They're getting a very fair share. There's full transparency about what we're doing well, what we might not be doing so well, where we might need to improve, and we will be very straight up about that and engage with people as to how they think that we can do better. And if everybody mucks in, if everybody looks after each other and works hard, in theory, there'll be plenty in this big pot of money to split between everybody. Quite basic when you put it like that.
Thank you, Jenny. Ellen?
Well, our vision statement is to have a happy place and a positive impact on our employees, our clients, and our community. And we're all striving towards that goal. And by doing it, it feels more of a family. It doesn't feel like a somewhere where you wake up and don't want to come to work. It's somewhere where you look forward to coming into work and to be able to have a real say in making a difference in moving the company forward and taking a share in the benefits at the end of the day as well.
That's wonderful. Well, look, I think I've really enjoyed this hour. I think it's been great and really enlightening. And I think, I think something that what I've taken out of it is that you're all trying to create some sort of conveyancing utopia in which to work in. And I think, from reading what I've read and what you've told me, you really are getting there in terms of that. I think what you mentioned there, Ellen, was very, very important, is that sense of family, which is what I think we very much got out of today, is that actually you can't, it doesn't matter how big the organization, you try and keep that sort of family and that tribe together a little bit, even if you've got to break that down into component parts and make it smaller and smaller and smaller, but everyone has to have that value, don't they? And I think, that work-life balance actually is as much about enjoying work as it is anything else. It's not about, playing golf every day. It's about actually, look, I'm really engaged with this and feeling a part of something, isn't it? So,
some
thank
fun,
you so
Lloyd.
much. Sorry?
No, and having some fun. I mean, I think that's,
Absolutely.
it's, I think that's so utterly key, actually, is, we spend a lot of time here, so let's have some fun on the way.
And you all do that, I think, don't you, with your parties and, with your engagement and that whole sort of thing that seems to work so well. Listen, guys, the very, very best of luck to you all this evening. Hopefully I'll be there and be able to buy you a drink, or whoever's representing you. But thank you very much for your time today. You've all been quite fantastic, and good luck tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank you.
Anyone looking to enhance their, the well-being of their environment and looking for tips on how to manage their business, please have a look at the Conveyancing Foundation Hub. We've got a lot of information on there. You're free to use it, take it, and really sort of deploy it within your businesses. Ladies, you've been brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you.